do represent the church and how the church interfaces. My perspective is a little bit different, because I'm not here to just represent the church, but the kingdom of God. And the kingdom of God is something that works in our lives as believers. And as the previous speaker said, 80% of Zimbabweans profess some form of religious activity, Christian activity. That's a pretty high figure. But we don't work it in our lives because the kingdom of God has to be transformed in each of our lives. We have to become kingdom members. So as a pastor, we're constantly addressing the business community, the education community, 7 different domains. Even media needs to take this to heart. We've had bad media in this country, to be honest with you. It's been skewed, it's been used, it's been manipulated, and it doesn't do, we don't have good reporting for the most part. Anything goes in the newspaper because somebody said it, not investigated, and I think that there's things we have to look at. But we wrote to the president, but more importantly, we called the church to pray around certain elements, and I'd like to just put kingdom values around this. First of all, upholding the rule of law. Our nation has been deemed not to observe the rule of law, which has hindered investors and law-abiding citizens from investing their lives and their fortunes in this country. The people are asking for a return to fair and godly legal frameworks and the transparent upholding of the rule of law. The call to abide by the Constitution of Zimbabwe and the moral law of God has been made clear, and we look forward to the government, this new government, demonstrating this clearly. Zimbabweans are generally law-abiding citizens, and they expect the same of their leadership. We also call upon government to return to its role as enforcer of the rule of law, as an impartial regulatory body that provides protection for all of its citizens, irrespective of political affiliation or lack thereof. We also believe that government, in doing so, cannot compete in the same sectors that they regulate. Transparency and predictability. A government of the people and for the people recognizes that our national constitution bestows ultimate power on the people. The basic principles require that the government demonstrate transparency in the operation of its businesses, and the fiscus is required. Transparency requires that information should be freely accessible in easily understandable forms to those who will be affected by governance policies and practices. Transparency also necessitates that any government decisions taken and enforced are in compliance with time-honored rules and regulations. This lends itself to predictability, without which no nation can engender confidence in investors or its citizens. We believe that with transparent long-term planning and commitment to biblical principles, there can be an ushering in of a season of unprecedented growth and prosperity for our nation. Responsiveness. There have been calls by the new president and by the public at large to once and for all deal with the issue of corruption without fear or favor. We hope that the new administration will urgently respond to this national call. Our civil government should turn away from the corruption that has entered into all spheres of service delivery, whether it be through bribery or motivational apathy. We also hope that the battle against corruption will be waged equitably and will not be used as a political weapon against opponents. The processes of government should be pro-business, service-oriented, and responsive to serve in the best interest of all stakeholders within reasonable time frames. The ease of doing business in Zimbabwe definitely needs to be improved. Seeking broad consensus. We're pleased that the new president is speaking about inclusivity. It is important that the president recognize that he is the president of all Zimbabweans, those who support Zanu-PF and those who do not. The most effective way to be inclusive is to seek broad consensus from a broad representation of all stakeholders and to be sensitive to the different stakeholders' interests in the best interest of every citizen. It is time for the ruling party to recognize that the nation is a multi-party democracy and therefore should demonstrate a respect for opposition parties and divergent views. These should not be viewed as enemies, but as stakeholders in national development. In this regard, it is unbecoming of the President and the ruling party to continue to chant slogans such as "Pasi the opposition party" or "Down with some individual." Let us disagree on principles without denigrating each other and resorting to hate speech. Equity. The people expect the government to provide equal opportunity for its shareholders, stakeholders, to maintain and enhance their well-being. It is time for government to deliver a compelling message regarding the reason for people to remain in the nation of Zimbabwe and to what kind of existence there is for our children and for future generations, and what life will look like if one chooses to expend his life here trying to give value to society. The events of Saturday, the 18th of November, clearly illustrate the call for the younger generation to a restored hope, a restoration hope. As leaders, we need to create an atmosphere that makes our children proud to be Zimbabwean and want to participate in socioeconomic and political development of our nation. Some of our human assets are enriching other economies because they did not find an atmosphere that is equitable, that rewards merit and gives equal opportunity for all with no regard to political affiliation. We implore the new dispensation to change the perception in government that economic opportunity is a privilege of only members of the ruling party. Effectiveness and efficiency. The nation cries out for our government to implement processes that produce favorable results, meet the needs of all citizens, while making the best use of its resources, whether they be human, technological, financial, natural, or environmental, that it has at its disposal. A lean government that is efficient and effective is the key to national competitiveness on the global marketplace. I have observed over the years that we have the most brilliant people in designing blueprints and white papers, but we are poor at implementation. We call upon the dispensation to make execution and implementation key pillars of their administration. Accountability. Government ought to be answerable and to delineate clear accountabilities throughout all government departments. It is a key tenet of good governance. It is critical to account for national resources like a land audit, to establish farm ownership and land utilization, to reduce multiple farm ownerships. There must be an accounting for the alleged $15 billion from diamond mining, and for all the resources that have been pumped into farming and mining activities. Giving people farming inputs without expecting them to accountably deliver product to the nation is poor stewardship. In general, government is accountable to those who will be affected by its decisions or actions, as well as applicable rules of law. We implore the new dispensation to consider instituting various audits of the capacity and proper utilization of national assets, including both financial assets and in-ground assets, as well as other measurable assets. It is sad for the reports of the Auditor General to be produced 5 years late, and then nothing is done about the findings. Accountability to the people in financial matters is paramount for future success, especially in regard to transparency regarding national tenders. Participation. The cornerstone of democracy is shared and equal participation of all Zimbabweans, either directly or through legitimate representatives in free and fair electoral processes. The voice of the people is heard through credible electoral processes, as they have the right to choose their leaders. Participation requires that the state should encourage the respect the freedom of expression and the freedom to assemble in order to bring about constructive political discourse in our nation. It is our hope that during the tenure of your presidency, I wrote this to him personally, access to information and public media will be available to all political players. Participation also presupposes the right of every Zimbabwean to use his or her ingenuity and creativity to participate in the economic development of the nation, irrespective of political affiliation. I also believe that, and I'm going to just close with this thought.
For these and other stories, visit our website www.263chat.com. Follow us on Twitter @263chat and like our Facebook page 263 Chat.